Hello, Deep Dive Sports listeners. How are you doing today? Welcome
Hello,
to the first
and
episode.
welcome to the very first episode
Behind
of
the
Davis
Scenes.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
presented by Deep Dive
Sports
Sports.
today.
What
we
up,
are
everybody?
hopping into
Welcome
a
to
new
the first
segment.
ever
It's called Lights
episode
Out
of Behind
Podcast.
the Scenes, presented by UFC.
Hello, everyone,
Sports.
and welcome to the
All
first
things
episode
Deep
of
Dive
On
Sports.
Pitch,
Ladies
presented by
and
Deep
What's
Dive
going on,
Sports.
ladies and gentlemen?
I'm your
Deep
host,
Dive
Dom,
Sports.
joined with
Episode
Chase.
of our Lights Out Podcast. We are starting off with a bang.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On Pitch, presented by Deep Dive Sports.
All right, hello, presented by Sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On Pitch.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sports Through the Looking Glass, presented by Deep Dive Sports. How are you doing today? Today, Dom and I are going to try and explain the massive industry of sports betting, which happens to be one of the many reasons people tune in every week to their favorite sports. So I'm going to hand it off real quick to Dom to give a brief explanation to what sports betting actually is.
Thanks, David. So, sports betting, in layman's terms here provided by Wikipedia, is the activity of predicting sports results and placing a wager on the outcome, whether it be like the final score or how a player performs in the game or a team performs in the game. It's kind of just betting on sports.
Pretty self-explanatory on that.
Yeah,
that.
For the most part. Yeah.
All right. So here's kind of a rundown of the history of sports betting. So according to historians, some of the first bets to be placed were during the era of ancient Rome. They would have to be placed by the person placing them in the actual city of Rome. And they were to be placed on stuff like chariot races or gladiator games. And it would remain that way for thousands of years, where they would have to go into the city and actually do this. And over time, it would eventually turn into what we know today. So sports betting that we know today didn't start to show until roughly 2,000 years after Rome, give or take. This would be around roughly the 18th century. And they would be placing bets on horse riding early on. And it would go eventually into some of the more popular sports around the world, like baseball, stuff like that, and soccer. And then by the late 19th century, the United States, New Zealand, and Canada would create laws to rein in this underworld industry. Like in years past and other sports around the world, sports betting would change forever. The reason for this change would be the public having easier access to what is known as the internet in the 1990s. Prior betting was you making a bet, someone taking it, and hoping that either they or you pay up in person. Now you can communicate with someone from another part of the country or the world without even being at the event, which in itself causes problems because one state's or country's rules may differ from another, even if they are really close together. Like up until a few years ago, really the only states that where you can make bets like that were New Jersey and in Nevada. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're spot on.
So, like I said before, sports betting is a massive industry. So we are going to cover some of the more commonly used terms in sports betting. Dom?
Thanks, David. So first term that we're going to fill you guys in on is against the spread. And against the spread basically means you're taking the points and the underdog in a game.
The next option is American odds. These are what are known as in a big three group that also includes fractional and decimal odds. And American money lines posted at -110 are the same as a 1.91 decimal odds and a 10/11 fractional pricing. Basically, what this means is all three formats return a $100 profit on a winning $110 wager.
Cool. So next term is sportsbook. Simply, that's where you buy and do all your sports betting. There's various online sports books, and a lot of the big ones are based out of Vegas, but that's where all the bets are made. That's where all the money is.
Then we have what is known as a cover. This is the betting outcome on a point spread bet. For a favorite to cover, it must win by a number higher than the spread. An underdog can cover by losing by a number less than the spread or by winning the game outright.
Cool. Next term is hedging, and simply look at a game. You're picking both teams, so you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself a win. Payout might not be as good because you're losing one bet, but you're winning another bet. And the next term that we got for you guys is odds maker, and simply that's the person or a group of people. I don't really know how all that works, but that's where all the odds are made. So you see on ESPN and a bunch of these other sports sites and shows, they have all those numbers by the side of the teams. It's what all the odds are. Those are the odds makers are the people that make those odds. Hence the name odds maker.
It makes sense. So on to the next one, we got parlay. And what a parlay means is a bet that combines multiple games for a higher payout. The more games, the higher the risk, but also the greater the payout. In order for the parlay to win, each game must win or at least push a tie. If any of the games lose, the entire wager loses. Then we've got a point spread, which is a margin of victory set by the odds makers to attract the bet's action on both the favorite and the underdog. A favorite must win by a higher number than the point spread to cover. An underdog can cover by losing a number less than the spread or by winning the game outright. And finally, we've got proposition bets or prop. A bet on anything that is not directly tied to the outcome of the game. For example, it can be the first team or the first player to score in a game. Now, these are obviously not all the terminology that gets used in sports betting. Like I said, it's a massive industry. We just wanted to cover some of them that may seem a bit confusing that are often commonly used. So
going back to the prop bets that you talked about, I remember way back when we first started doing deep dive, when we did the Super Bowl prediction episode.
Yeah.
I remember we were going through and we were all talking about some of the crazy like prop bets that people were putting money on for the Super Bowl, like would someone like run onto the field, or like you said, who would score first and whatnot,
and who would what kind of Gatorade would they use, stuff like that.
Yeah, like the color of Gatorade that would be poured on the winning coach.
Yeah,
people bet money on
and actually take that stuff seriously. It could be like the most basic stuff in the world that most people would never think about, and they would try and make money on it.
You'd be surprised on how seriously people take things when they have money on the line.
Which actually is a perfect transition to this kind of like final question before we move into our final thoughts, is what do you think makes sports betting as popular as it is today? I'll start with
I
you.
think there's a couple of reasons. One, it makes sports more interesting. It brings audiences into games because, if you got money on the line for, a basketball game on a Tuesday between two teams that you normally wouldn't watch, you're probably going to find a place to watch that game.
Mhm.
It's I think it's obviously got its positives and its negatives. If you're you got a bit of a gambling problem, it's maybe something you shouldn't do. But if you do it just casually and you can win some money, or you just do it for fun, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, and I kind of agree because it's along the same lines where I wanted to go. I think that people really enjoyed sports just like casually watching it, but then
Hmm.
they're more often to just pay attention to their local team. I feel like for the by and large part, most people do it mainly to have fun.
Yeah, and if you can win a little bit, if you can win a little bit of money on the side, more power to you. You're definitely doing better at betting than I am. That's for sure.
Yeah. Dom and I want to say thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sports Through the Looking Glass. We would like you to please comment down below on what are your thoughts on sports betting as a whole. And please like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel. And with
Also,
that,
go follow all of our social media pages. They'll be linked down in the description below. Yeah, back to you.
and also subscribe to all of our podcasts wherever you can find them. Links on our social medias as well. So thank you again. Have a good one.